I voted by mail a couple of weeks ago. So where are we all coming from? So Lori's in Philadelphia. Amy, where are you?
I'm on 78th and 2nd,
Okay.
and nothing is boarded up around me.
Mel, you're in the village, right?
Right.
Mel has been working with me all summer long, so she and I are familiar together, and this is going to involve some review for her, and hopefully it'll be real interesting. If you have a question, I guess everybody's going to be muted while I'm talking. If you have a question, raise your hand, and I will answer. Yes, Bonnie.
I ordered my book days ago and it hasn't come. Has anybody else had that problem?
I got mine.
And I ordered
Mine
it
arrived.
expedited too, so I don't,
Hi, Lori.
Hi there.
why not have a book?
Hi, Ron.
Hi,
I got
Michelle.
mine, and if you need, I could probably scan a few of the pages and send you at least
No,
maybe the
That's
first lesson
okay,
or two.
I'll wing it for today.
Welcome, Batya Segura. Hello.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you. Toda rabah.
11 people in the class are going to be. So this is the first time I've done a full class this way. I've done individually, and I've done 2 people together. But this is my first full class, so I was a little anxious and excited at the same time. I hope all of you are as well.
I'm more anxious than you are, Ron.
So I can give you a little information about those of you who don't know me. I became a member of CBSC in 1980. You can tell by the color of my beard. I go back a long way. Believe it or not, on the very first night that I came to CBSC, I met Jack Greenberg, who is my husband now and has been so for husband. We just had our 7th legal anniversary, but we had our 40th anniversary this past spring.
Oh, mazel tov.
Jack has walked behind. You probably know him from anything connected with Torah and teaching at CBSC. We've both been involved in the adult bar and bat mitzvah classes. If any of you are planning to do that in the future and we're still to teach at this point, you'll have a chance to meet him. And Michelle, I think you're probably the person I know who I know the longest.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Probably between 30 and 40 years. I know your brother I met the same night I met Jack.
Oh, really?
Yep. It was the very first night, May 21st, 1980. And so I've been teaching since 1982. Kids, adults, Hebrew school, one-on-one, mini groups of kids. I did the first few adult Benot mitzvah. I'll say Benot because they were all women, very few men at first. And I individually taught a number of women who generally at a decade birthday, 40, 50, 60, they prepared and learned enough Hebrew and chanting cantillation to have an adult bat mitzvah at CBSC. So that goes way, 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 way back. A lot of done that with a lot of people, and I taught Hebrew and other things. Recently, I taught a genealogy class last year, which is a subject of expertise that I have. And lots of Hebrew stuff. I started the first regular education committee set of classes back in '83. Before they had the Blair House, that came in after we started having rabbis. So I've had a lot of time with education. We're going to use the book, but you'll also get some of my expertise. I'm going to throw in all sorts of other things, including in the beginning, which, by the way, it looks like we should be starting about now. Jesse, it's 6 o'clock. Should I begin the formal class? Okay. Jesse is at CBSC, or probably is at home. He's a CBSC assistant. You can see him, and I've been emailing him about logistics. You may have met him before. So, okay, so I'll begin now. So let's see, there's another name down here, Sarah Mays. Oh, hello, Sarah. Okay, I was gonna say we need to get you in. Does everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. So let's see. So again, I said Ron Weiss. We're going to use the book Alef Isn't Tough. Does everybody have that? I hope. No. Okay. Who doesn't have it? Bonnie doesn't have it. Everybody else have it? Have you, Bonnie? Have you ordered it? You have, but you haven't gotten it yet. You can unmute when you're talking to me.
Yeah, I ordered it last week and it hasn't, I ordered the 3-day delivery and it hasn't come.
Okay, good. That's fine. We'll just do the best we can until it comes in. I'm going to indicate the first couple of letters we're going to do, and I'll show you through my camera.
I know a little bit of Hebrew.
Okay.
Yeah, I can read it a little bit.
Because I assume you're all at different levels. There may be some people out there who don't know any, and then nothing. Okay, so this is the very beginning. And then some of you, Meryl, I know you know plenty. We've gotten through enough. I was with Meryl, we've gotten to about half, a little more than half the book already.
I was saying to Lori, I knew this much also. And now I can actually read things.
That's great.
All right, well, you'll be my inspiration then, Meryl, because I'm worried.
And I know the prayers by heart. That's just because you know them.
And I know nothing.
It's going to be a challenge because learning, when you're beyond 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 years old, it gets a little harder with age. I think you all know that. But I'm here to support you. If you have any questions, you can, I don't know if you were given my email, but I'll tell you right now. You can email me at any time with questions. I'll be happy to answer you. So you got, and I hope you all have a notebook. I will also send you at various times some attachments, computer attachments of sheets that I've created over time, which may be helpful and probably have more information than you need at this level, but about vowels and about verbs and various basic things in Hebrew. So I know I got a list of email addresses. I can do that. Mine is Ron, R-O-N, then the letter M for my middle initial, Mark. Oh, I see Jesse put it on there. Ron Weiss, Ron M. Weiss at hotmail.com. I guess everybody sees that on the screen. Ron M. Weiss at hotmail.com. There's another one without the M. It'll go to somebody else who got there first. Okay. So, any real important question before we start? Do you think I have to ask it before we begin from anyone? Aha, we were connecting. A new person, Adam, is connecting to the audio. Okay. Adam, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I was trying to get my computer to work and it wasn't, so I logged in on my phone.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, as I introduced myself, and I've had 40 years of teaching experience and with all sorts of subjects, and we're going to have a really nice class here. We're meeting twice a week. I offer to do it an hour and a quarter each, so we'll have a little bit more time, and I think it's going to be fun. I love teaching, and hopefully we'll all have fun also. So, okay, Adam, do you have the book, Alef Isn't Tough?
No, I paid for express delivery and they lost my book somehow. So they sent me a PDF version so I can get through today's class, and they're going to be express shipping another book out to me.
Good. Okay, so that's 2 people in the class that don't have the books yet, but we'll do what we can anyway. I'd ask everybody to get have a notebook and pen ready. Also, perhaps a folder, because I'm going to send you things that you'll print out. What I'd like to do is do a little bit of talking about Hebrew before we get to the book. Hebrew is in the language category of Semitic languages. Semitic languages. That's also come to mean certain groups of people, but originally it's a language category, Semitic, Semitic. Okay, I like to throw out questions. I like trivia and I like intellectual stuff. Anybody there know what the derivation of Semitic is? Anybody know?
You said it was Simitic, not SEM.
Semitic. Okay. Anyone know the origin? Okay, sometimes people do. It's we're going back to the three sons of Noah. The three sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Yefet. The descendants of Shem were mostly peoples in Asia. The descendants of Ham, which they write in English as Ham, it's not Ham, it's Ham, are peoples of Africa, and roughly the descendants of Yefet, which is called Japhetech in English, are the Europeans. So the Semitic languages come from the descendants of Shem, meaning means a name. That's a word that you will come across not too far off. Shem means name. In your notebooks, what I'd like you to do, there's going to be a section where I give you various grammatical rules at different times. Some of them may be the same time they're in the book. Some of them may be at other times. But I'd like you to put them down so that you can look back, review the notes after the class, between this class and the next class. And the next class is going to be on Thursday, 6 o'clock. Review your notes, memorize what you can. I don't expect everybody to memorize everything, but I'll give you various rules and some vocabulary. The vocabulary will take a little longer probably to learn, but you should be able to do that. And well, I'm giving you a lot of information which will help in your understanding Hebrew, and also which is general background information which everybody should have. So the Semitic languages. Okay, so Hebrew obviously is a very ancient Semitic language. Okay, anybody know any other Semitic language?
Yiddish?
No, that's a Germanic language. I was going to get that.
Oh, it's
Arabic?
because of the letters. Oh, okay.
Arabic?
Germanic.
Hebrew letters, but yet that's the next category of Jewish languages, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, any other guesses?
Arabic? No.
Yes, Arabic. Absolutely. Arabic is the most spoken of the Semitic languages. Not the oldest, however, because there are older languages. Before Arabic, and between Hebrew and Arabic, there's another language which we in synagogue and in prayer have contact with, and you might not even know it.
Aramaic?
That's it, Amy. Aramaic. Now, Aram, I taught Hebrew geography and Jewish geography and other studies. Aram is the Hebrew word for Syria, because everybody has Syria on their mind in the last 10 years. The Aramaic would actually translate as Syriac. Aramaic became the language of the western part of the Middle East after the Jews were taken into exile into Mesopotamia from their homeland, in the lands of Israel and the land of Judah. Mesopotamia is the area that's roughly Iraq. Also, the original Jewish family of Abraham, the Bible states to us that they lived in Ur Kasdim, which is the city of Ur at the very base of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which is southernmost Iraq, very, very near Kuwait. And then the family traveled on the Fertile Crescent into what became the land of Israel. But we all originated, parts of our genetics originated in southern Iraq. Okay, and so the Hebrew language developed presumably with the family that identified themselves as moving from southern Mesopotamia to the land of Canaan, the land of the Canaanites. So in addition, so what happened after the exile, when the first temple was destroyed, the Jews who had any wealth, the middle and upper class Jews, were taken away to the land of Babylonia, and the poor Jews were left behind. Hebrew stopped being a spoken language at that point. And it wasn't until Ben Yehuda in the 1880s decided single-handedly to resurrect Hebrew as a spoken language. This one person was able to make this, classic ancient language come back and become a spoken language starting in the 1880s. And he lived into the 20th century, I believe. And then when the state of Israel began to develop as Palestine, then Israel, it actually became the national language. Hebrew was brought back to life. After the exile, Aramaic took over as a language, and so the Jews began speaking Aramaic for common purposes. The Hebrew language remained a language of prayer, and it continued that way. But some of the prayers we know, like the Kaddish, for instance, are not Hebrew, they are Aramaic. And once you learn your letters, I will point out how you can tell what's likely an Aramaic word as opposed to Hebrew. But they're all combined. Out of some basic interest, Phoenician, the ancient Phoenician language is a Semitic language. Akkadian, which is spoken also in Mesopotamia, is a different language. Ebelite, Amharic, that's probably the furthest one away. That was and still is one of the two languages of Ethiopia, which is a Semitic language. And I just was doing some research. There's a South Arabian set of languages that are no longer in existence or very rarely used that are also Semitic. But we're talking about mostly north of the Horn of Africa and the Western Middle East. So those are the Semitic languages. Okay, so Michelle had mentioned Yiddish. Okay, so then there are a set of Jewish languages. Okay, so the one that we're most familiar with probably is Yiddish, which came out from the Ashkenazim, the Jews who wound up going through Italy and the Balkans into Europe that way. And Ashkenaz is the Hebrew word for Germany. And they developed their own dialects, and so they have some slight differences in pronunciation that we'll see as we go along. The Yiddish language was basically taking German and adding various bits of Hebrew, and as time went along, some Polish and some Russian and some other things, and created Yiddish, used with Hebrew characters, but the language is a Germanic language. Having learned Yiddish in Yiddish and Hebrew school, I was able to understand a lot when I first visited Europe and went to Germany in 1972. So then there's some others which are less well known. Probably have heard of Ladino. Anybody heard of Ladino? Okay, so that's Judeo-Spanish. And so similarly, that's written in the Roman alphabet. It looks like Spanish, but it has some different letters. You can generally understand it. It also took in some Hebrew, and it also was influenced by Portuguese. So that's the second most spoken Jewish language other than Hebrew. Hebrew, of course, is the most, Yiddish, then Ladino. There are also some other unusual ones. There's Judeo-Persian, which came out of the Persian language in Iran. Judeo-Arabic, which came out of all over the Middle East, and a couple of other small ones, which small groups of people have spoken. But there's all interesting background that in Judaism, languages have mixed with others, and so our big Jewish family of languages actually has more than you would think of. But the Semitic languages are all similar, whether Jews speak them or Arab people speak them or Ethiopians in Amharic. Any questions? Okay. Wanted to move on to just a little bit more about the movement of Jewish people. After the second temple was destroyed, Jews for the most part were forced to leave the land of Israel, and so some went by sea to Italy, some wound up going to the Balkans, others had been in North Africa for some time, some moved further away. Jews had been living in Spain from fairly olden times back, in southern France. They also had gone the other direction into Iran. After the destruction of the Kingdom of Israel, the lost tribes wound up being in areas in the Caucasian Mountains, in what's now Kazakhstan. At various points, Jews had moved, like 4 different movements of Jews to India. During the Middle Ages, they started the Silk routes to China. And so we have all these far-flung Jewish communities. Bring them all up because there are slight effects on the language. There are 3 main things. The Ashkenazi dialect, which are the Jews who mostly came through Italy and the Balkans, moved eventually around after 800 across the Alps into Germany, and after expulsions, and France and England from there, after expulsion moved eastward into Eastern Europe around 1300. So those are Ashkenazim, and the Ashkenazi dialect is similar to what we learned. It's what I learned initially, but it had a couple of differences, which we'll talk about when we see these letters. The Sephardi dialect comes from the Jews of Spain and Portugal, and sometimes a bit of southern France, and those back to Africa, in Morocco, and eventually after the Spanish and Portuguese expulsions were forced into North Africa, into the Balkans, into the Middle East, to Syria, to all these other areas. The Sephardi dialect is what was chosen by modern Israel when it became a state to be the dialect that would be the standard dialect. Partly because it was right after the Holocaust, and they knew the Israelis, the Jews of the Middle East, wanted to identify themselves more with Asia than with Europe. They had been persecuted so horribly in Europe. So the pronunciation of the Sephardim became the official pronunciation of Israel. And so that transferred eventually after the war into what was taught in US schools. So some old Orthodox schools and some schools where they teach Yiddish also use the Ashkenazi dialect, but primarily what you'll hear is Sephardi Hebrew. And that's what we'll be learning. One other thing, there's various Mizrahi dialects. These are Jews who never left Asia, or perhaps went down to Africa, to Ethiopia, to Egypt. There are certain differences there also, which I'll point out just for cultural interest. But for the most part, Sephardi is what we're familiar with. Okay, any questions now? All right, so those of you who have the book, we're going to read out loud anyway. Please turn to page 5. And we're going to start learning a variety of consonants and vowels. So what I did in preparation for this, just some basic Hebrew words that have to do with grammar. I'd like you to choose a point in your textbook where you have a page, and it can be expanded greatly, a page about grammatical terms, Hebrew grammar, and a whole bunch of pages that will be filling up with that. Okay, so find a place in your notebooks to write Hebrew grammar, and I'm going to give you the Hebrew of a few words that that are related to writing. Okay? Is everybody ready? Okay. So the first word I want you to know in Hebrew, because I may use these things, and it's good to know in general, is the word for consonant, a Hebrew letter. Okay? And a consonant is ot. Ot. You'll use transliteration at this point, ot. Ot. That's the singular for a consonant. The plural for consonants is otiot. Otiot. That's O-T-I-O-T. Again, we may or may not use that very much, but sometimes when I'm talking about things, I'll throw the Hebrew in so you'll get familiar with it. Consonant is ot, plural otiot. Okay? Vowel. Okay, Hebrew vowel is nikuda, and I will give you the transliteration. Nikuda, N apostrophe. The apostrophe you will learn several lessons in is a vowel. Okay, it's the transliteration of a vowel. Okay, and nikuda, K-U-D like in David, A-H, nikuda. Okay, how about everybody at the count of three say that so we'll get familiar with it. 1, 2, 3. Nikuda.
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 Okay, good.
Nikuda.
I probably couldn't hear everybody at the same time, but I want to give you practice with the word. Okay, so the plural is nikudot. Nikudot. And that, so what I wanted to say about those, the Hebrew consonants are written out letters, but the vowels are a system of dots and dashes and symbols that would go underneath the letter or occasionally above the letter. Yes, Michelle?
Could you ask everybody to mute if they're not talking, because there's a lot of ambient noise that's very distracting. Please, everybody mute if you're not speaking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Good. Okay. So these normally, most often they're underneath, occasionally above, and occasionally to the left, not the right, to the left of the consonant. So you'll have your oath, your consonant, and the nikuda is mostly below or to the left and above. Again, I want you to get familiar with these words. Okay? Any questions? Good. Okay.
Can you give an example of that? You said to the left of a consonant. So it'll be like a bet.
Okay, so some of you may know some Hebrew letters. So the bet is a consonant with the sound of B. So what you would have to the left of that is the vowel, for instance, it's pronounced O. O. That actually uses a Hebrew letter, which we'll learn later on, the Vav, and it has a dot on top of it. It's not only a dot, but it's the Hebrew letter Vav with the dot on top, and that will always be to the left. And so if you have a bet with that, it's called a cholam. We'll learn this later. It's going to be pronounced bo. It's the letter B and the sound O, bo. There's another one letter, same thing, but the dot is in the middle, and that's going to be that's called a shuruk. And Meryl knows all these. We've got over them together. I have a page which I will give you. I'll send to you in a while once we learn a few letters. That's pronounced oo as opposed to o, the full long o. This is a soft o, oo. And so use the bet, Bonnie. That's going to be boo.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. But again, mostly underneath and occasionally on top. So the Hebrew for word, that's a good thing to learn, is milah, milah, M-I-L-A-H. And I suggest you put these, you may or not need these, but I'd like you to have a list of these things, milah. Sometimes the word davar also means word. That's more often used as, a lot of Hebrew words have different meanings. It uses thing, it's word or thing. But that word is a commonly used word. Anyway, probably the more spot on word for word is milah. Everybody have that? Good. Well, you go from word to a whole sentence. And sentence in Hebrew is pasuk. Pasuk. P like in Paul, A-S-U-K. Pasuk. That's a sentence. The plural shifts a little bit. Pisukim. Pisukim. P, again like in Paul, apostrophe S-U-K-I-M. That's words. I'm sorry, no, that's sentences. Pisukim. Okay? The next word isn't used too often, but I was working my way up. The word for paragraph, paragraph, is seif, seif, S''IF. And then a chapter, and you'll come across things like that in when you're reading or following, listening to Torah. A chapter is a perek, perek, P like in Paul, E-R-E-K, perek. Now, the word for book, this you may have heard already. Anybody know what the word is for book? Raise your hand. Okay. Well, a few of you have. Go ahead, Amy. What is it?
I think Sefer.
Sefer, right. Good. The most common sefer that is referred to is Sefer Torah, the book of Torah, which is the book of the law or the teaching. Okay, very good. Sefer, Sifarim is the plural. Sifarim. Okay. And then I wanted to give, so that's as far as we go with that. There are three other words I wanted to give you before we actually move into the book itself. And these are words that will be used. And the first word is root. So that's that's a term that refers to Hebrew verbs, the root of the verb. So you have various forms, but you have a Hebrew root which as a basic, normally set of 3 or 4 letters. Most cases, Hebrew roots are 3 or 4 letters. And the word for root is shoresh. Shoresh. S-H-O-R-E-S-H. Shoresh. Okay. Now, and so we'll learn various roots and we'll practice them, and we'll very little, mostly on later classes, but we'll learn how to use these various roots and to create words. And the two other things I want to have you do are the word Hebrew for noun and for verb, because those are frequently used things. So the word for verb is poal. Poal, P-O-A-L. Okay, and the word for noun, I gave it, normally I on the list noun first, but it derives from poal. The word for noun is shem hapoal, which literally means the name of the verb. Shem hapoal, shem, S-H, either A-Y-M or E-Y-M, you can transliterate however you like. Hapoal, H-A, really is capital P-O-A-L. Shem hapoal, that's the word for noun. Okay, you still with me, everybody? Good. Okay, you have a question, Batya? Oh, no, you're just saying you're with me. Okay, good. Okay, excellent. All right.
I'm getting confused because my Hebrew name is Batya, so
Oh,
I
okay.
answered automatically. That's good.
Good. Well, we should actually go through. Let's take a minute. So I have Lori first. Why don't you? Is everybody? I guess that their places are the same in order on everybody's computer. Lori, your Hebrew name?
I don't even know.
Oh, okay. Do you have parents or aunts or uncles who are alive?
I do. I mean, my dad grew up Orthodox, but very much turned against it and, did not raise us religious. So I could ask him, but
Yes, I would do that.
he's 95 now. We'll see what I get out of him.
My father was the same way. He revolted against the Orthodoxies. And so my education wound up being through Jewish socialism. That's why I learned Yiddish. Went to the Workman Circle school. So you know where my political allegiances are. Okay, do ask. I think it's really important to know that. Amy, how about you?
So mine is sort of a combination of Hebrew and Yiddish. My Hebrew names are Esther, Hinda.
Okay, so Esther would be a Yiddish form. In Hebrew, it's slightly different. Esther, Esther, and Hinda. That was pretty much Yiddish. I don't know what the Hebrew would be there. Meryl, I know we talked. What are yours again?
Mine is Malia.
Malia, okay, which is Yiddish, but I know in conversations I said to you that I thought probably the Yiddish Malia is probably connected somehow to Malka, which is the Hebrew for queen. Okay, Bonnie, you're Batya?
But yes, Batia Yakovet. They made my middle name up.
Oh, yes?
They named me for Jacob,
Exactly.
but feminized it by adding an et to the end.
Exactly. And we will learn some weeks on that words that are similar to that are generally feminine, that things that end in et or in at are very similar, usually feminine endings to masculine words. Hebrew has masculine and feminine words, so that makes learning these things more difficult, knowing when to use them. I don't always know when to use them, but we will go through that as we learn. Michelle, how about you?
My name is Michla.
Okay, so that sounds more Yiddish or Eastern European. I'm not sure what the Hebrew derivation is, if there is one. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I
glad-
know.
I'm glad most of you know your names. Really important. I'll tell you mine when everybody finishes. So Batya, do you have a middle name?
It's Batia Rachel, and my name that most people know me by is Barb, but I really love my Hebrew name and I'm embracing it.
Good. And of course, Rachel, we know in English is what?
Rachel?
Yes. Maybe not everybody knew that. That's why my assumption is let everybody know what everything is, because there are all sorts of levels of knowledge. Sarah.
Mine, I think it's Sarah Lena.
Good. Okay. So there we have two of the four matriarchs, of course, Abraham's wife and her granddaughter Leah.
It's not Leah, but Lena.
Oh, Lena.
I don't know for sure. There's nobody around to ask.
Okay.
But my English name is Lynn, the middle name.
So that could be more from the Yiddish. But I'm a little hard of hearing. So if I say something, if you ask me something and I don't always give an answer that makes sense, ask again, because just the way it is. I do the best I can. Adam, unmute yourself.
Itzhak Ben Yaakov Hinda Freda.
Okay, so Yitzchak Ben Yaakov, you said?
Yeah, it's Yitzhak, Yitzhak, of Jack and Hinda or Helene.
Okay. Yitzchak, everybody knows is Isaac. Okay, good. Jesse, if you're listening, what's your Hebrew name?
I think my Hebrew name is Eliezer Ben Shmuel, but I have to double check on it.
Okay, because Jesse itself is Hebrew. The Hebrew is Yishai.
Ah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yishai. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I This is me. Okay. Reuven Moshe, that's my first and middle name, Ben Avraham Halevi, from the tribe of Levi, Vitzilka Dina. And so what we often do, you know, it's the son or daughter of your father and your mother these days. So my full name is Reuven Moshe Ben Avraham Halevi Vitzilka Dina. Sometimes I get a smile or a laugh when I go to the Bima, the Blessed Torah, because I insist on using my whole name. I got to just tell you one little thing. Sometimes it actually brings you closer to other people. In synagogue years ago, they had an Arab American woman who was speaking in the synagogue, and her first name was Zina. Well, Dina is my mother's middle name. And I'd been called to the Torah then, and I went up to her afterwards and I said, I always look for things to link people together. And your name being Dina means it's part of my name, and that makes us closer together than farther apart. I felt really good about doing that. It's interesting. So hopefully you'll find your parents' names if you don't know them as well, and you'll learn your full possibility. Okay, good that we went through that. So those of you who have the book, and if you don't have the book, Jesse, is it possible to put page 1 up? Because there are 2 people in class who haven't gotten their books yet. Page 1 of Alef Isn't Tough, is that possible to put up?
Unfortunately, I don't have a copy myself.
And it's Bruce. I don't have one either.
I can email one to Jesse. Do you want me to email you the copy?
Yeah,
Okay.
that would
Or you can email me. I'll put it in the chat.
I was gonna say the same. Because they screwed up my delivery, they sent me a PDF.
Oh, do it then. Oh, if you can.
I can make you a co-host, and you can, if you don't mind sharing it.
I'm not
Okay.
sure how to share it on Zoom.
I'll explain to you. Give me 1 second. That's what I'm
Sure.
here for.
Sure.
Give me 1 second, Adam, and I will make
Ron, do you mean page 5?
Yes. Did I say a different page?
You said page 1.
Oh, well, I
Adam?
meant it was page. Thank you, Meryl. I mean page 5. Right.
On the bottom ribbon, it will say screen share. It's a green button.
Okay. I'm on my phone.
Oh, you're on your phone. Okay. Can you send this to my email and I'll share it? I just put my email in this Bruce, BRUCE at Roberts.
Just give me 1 second to get to the email, and then okay, so here it is. Forward to, what is it?
Bruce, BRUCE
Uh-huh.
at Roberts, ROBERTS LTD, like Larry Tom David.com. If you get it and send it, I will bring it up.
Okay. Hopefully this goes through. Let me know once you get it.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue, and hopefully people can pick up. I'm going to read out loud the beginning part of chapter 1, page 5 at the top. Here's a good bit of information to you for you to put down. You could put it with the consonant thing and that I had you put in your dictionary. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and in this chapter, the first chapter, 3 are going to be introduced. Okay, and so those of you who have the book, you see what they are. I am going to teach you to write as well as to recognize the Hebrew letters. There we go. That's the
what page?
That's the cover of the book, page 5. That's 3. Oh.
That's 5 right there.
That's 5 right there. Okay, good. So, like I said, there are 22 letters. We're going to learn 3 tonight. If you're in your book, or if you don't have the book, look at this on your screen. The first letter is the letter Bet. And the letter Bet, most of the letters in Hebrew sound like what their names are. The letter Bet is the sound B, as in boy. So that's very similar to English. Note that there is a dot inside the bet. Later on, you will learn a letter which is exactly the same as that without the dot, and that will have a different sound. Okay, so look at that and get an idea what it's like. The second letter we're going to learn is something a little unusual. It's the shin, and that is in English that's a combination sound. It's sh. We don't have an sh in English, but in Hebrew we do. Okay, and it's pronounced like we would in English sh as in ship, as you see there. And the third letter they're introducing is tav, and the tav is the letter T. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about these first, and then we're going to shift to another page, which is going to show you how to write these. I want to emphasize writing in script because that would be what most people would do if they're writing. You may never actually get to a point where you're doing writing for anything else, but I want to teach you that. I think that's important. They also have block letters, which usually are taught to kids as a way of learning what the Hebrew written letter looks like. You can learn those also, but I'm going to emphasize the script because I think that's most important. So we're going to go from this page, Bruce. We'll come back to it, but I want to do some practice in writing, and so I'm going to find, here we are, page 9. And 9 will tell you how to go about writing that. There we go, right there. Okay, so on the first line, oh, I should have mentioned this when I talked about Semitic languages. You probably all know this by now, but Semitic languages, unlike what is in much of the rest of the world, go from right to left instead of reading from left to right. I don't know if anybody wasn't aware of that, but this involves changing your thinking because in order to read the Hebrew, you have to go from the right side of the page to the left. So when I say the beginning of something, on this page here, the bet on the upper right is the first thing there, not the top, because we're going to do it in the Semitic way it is in Hebrew. Okay? They have two things, the block printing and then the script. And so what I'd like you to do is dedicate a section of your book, or you could use scrap paper if you like, to writing. And I think you should actually do it in the book if you can, to practice your letters. Because what I'm going to ask you to do for homework, and there is going to be a little bit of homework, is writing several of the letters that we learn in class sometime between now and the next class. Write a whole line of them so you get the hand-to-eye coordination that you'll need in learning the script. So the second set of Hebrew things, one with the script, you have on the right a bet. Okay, so what you do to write the bet, you start on the upper left and you do a curve, and then there are two ways of doing it. They do it sharply inward and to the left, and then you put a dot in there. Okay, so I'm going to put this up to the camera so you see. There we go. Everybody see that clearly? Some people think it looks like a bird's head with the eye, the dot for the eye. Okay, what I'd like you to do on the line where it says Hebrew writing exercises, okay, I want you to do like 3 of them now and do the rest for homework. Start at the upper left, curve over to the bottom, and then do the little arc in the middle, and then the dot. Again, it should look like this. And do about 3 of them. Very often the script looks similar to the printed letter, but not always. In the case of the bet, it does. In the case of the tav, it does. Shin is different. Did everybody practice their bet right now? I guess so. Okay. Now I want to go to the second script letter, the shin. Again, remember, bet is B and shin is SH. Okay? So they started at, let me just give you a variation. If some of you have actually learned writing before, sometimes there's a slight variation. There's a, at the end of the first part of the bet, there's a curve instead of it coming to a sharp point. And that's the way I learned it. And the bet looks like this. I'm putting it up to the camera now. That's the sharp one. There we go. Can you see this? So it's a little rounded. There are occasional variations in the script. And I say this in case you've already learned some script writing. Okay, let's look at the shin. Okay, so they suggest that you start on the bottom and go up and then loop back. It looks sort of like a script E, a lowercase e. So you can do it that way. I learned it sort of the opposite. I learned it in the middle, going up and then down and to the right. But it's very important that you put the dot in this one to the upper right of this script letter, because there's another letter you'll learn later on, which is going to have a dot in a different place. So either way, from the bottom, follow the arrows they have here, or from the middle backwards, however it works for you. Do 3 shins with the dot to the upper right for practice on the second line you have there. When we get through the tab, I'll ask if anybody has questions. Okay. Now let's try. So this is my version of the shin. Oh, I didn't put the dot in. I instructed everybody to do that, and then I didn't do it myself. There we go. See those 2 shins? That's what it should look like. Now, the tav starts off in the same way you would do the bet on the upper left. Okay? And you go down to the bottom, but then that's the end of that one. The second piece of it, you go back to the upper left, above where you started. You have to make sure it's above. And you go down and to the left. Now, they show it going down and very slightly to the left. I would prefer you do it more than that, because that looks too much like another Hebrew letter you'll learn a little bit later on. Okay, so I would suggest you do it like I have, and you can write in your book that way to correct it. I would suggest you do it this way. You see the top that I have there? The bottom piece on the left is longer, the longer tail. That looks a little too close to a different letter. Okay, and so everybody do 3 of those. And then I have some more information for you. Okay, Bruce, I think you can take that page away so I can see everybody and see again. Thank you. Okay, so is everybody done with all of that? Yes, okay, good. So here I'm going to go back to something I brought up earlier. Well, I'll do this secondarily. The dots on your page with grammar, okay? The dot in the middle of a Hebrew letter has a name, okay? And that's important. And it's called a dagesh. They don't mention this yet in the book here. They may later on. But sometimes I find it useful to mention things earlier. The dot inside a letter, and only inside. The dot in the shin is not a dagesh. That's above. But if there's a dot in the letter, it's called a dagesh, and we'll transliterate that D like in David, A, G, A, Y, S, H, dagesh. So there are 2 types of dagesh, or 2 types of dageshim, that's the plural. One type is called Dagesh Kal. And I'm giving you a lot of information here, but I think it's an adult class, and I think it's good to do that. Dagesh Kal. That's one of the two types of Dageshim. K-A-L. A Dagesh Kal, they look the same, but a Dagesh Kal can, not always does, but can change the pronunciation of the consonants. Okay? Remember before I said without the dot, without the Dagesh, the letter bet is something else. So the Dagesh Kal can change the pronunciation of the consonants. Okay? The other type of Dagesh is called, did everybody get a chance to write that? Good. The other one is called a Dagesh Chazak. You'll have to transliterate, this is not an English sound, as a CH, which it's not ch, but it's ch, which we will learn shortly in a few days. Chazak, C-H-A-Z-R-A-K, Chazak. A Dagesh Chazak generally does not, whether it's there or not, it doesn't change the sound of the consonant. What it does do, and we'll get into this later on, is if that appears in a letter with one particular vowel underneath it, then it does change how that vowel is pronounced. And it depends, certain Torah readers will also use that to make the reading of the Torah sound slightly different. Again, that's just some general information. Basically, what you need to know is sometimes the Dagesh changes the sound and sometimes it doesn't. But it's important to learn about the Dagesh. Okay?
You give an example of that, Ron, or is it going to be too soon to give an example?
Okay, well, I'll tell you ahead of time. Without the bet, without the Dagesh, is a V sound. You'll learn this later on. So if the word actually reads like the name of the letter, bet, if it didn't have the Dagesh, it would be pronounced vet, like a veteran. Okay? Bet and vet. Okay? Now, so that's good to know. Okay? Let's see. Bane. Bane is a word for sun. Okay? And so if it doesn't have the Dagesh, it's vain. Well, so here's an interesting complication in Hebrew. That doesn't change the meaning. It just changes the pronunciation. So there's certain times when the Dagesh disappears, and that's, we don't have to note this now. We'll talk about it later, much later maybe. But if you have a word that ends in a strong vowel just before a letter with a Dagesh Kal, that drops the Dagesh, and so it makes a difference in your pronunciation, but it doesn't make a difference in the meaning. So the word, for instance, I'll say, and a son. Okay, son is bane, and the son is vain. You drop the Dagesh, it means the same thing. It means and a son, but you don't say bain, you say vain. Okay, so that's the case. Bonnie is looking at possible frustration. Let me tell you, there's a lot of frustrating stuff here. You just have to take it as you go along. There are a lot of exceptions in Hebrew. It took me years. So don't think you're going to learn this overnight. This is a process, and you learn what you can. But I take it upon myself to teach you as much as possible, and you'll learn whatever your brain can pick up. And if you don't learn it, you'll go back and find out more later. Don't let it confuse you. Don't let it worry you.
I used to know this, and I don't remember this though, so I must have known it.
So that's good. But it's important to know that there aren't too many Dageshim like that. There are just a few. There's basically in 4 letters you could have that. It used to be 6. There's technically 6 examples of the Dagesh Kal, but 2 of them no longer make a difference. I think in ancient times they did make a difference in pronunciation, and now they don't. And I will mention that when we get to it, just out of interest. But actually, in effect, there are really three of them that make a difference. So this leads me to the thing with the tav. Okay, before we talked about the Sephardi pronunciation, which is typical, Hebrew that we do these days. With the tav, there is another letter that looks just like that has a dagesh kal on it. This is not. The sound in Sephardi Hebrew is exactly the same, but the sound for Ashkenazi Hebrew that developed differently is a different letter. So that's one of the few, like 3 examples, 3 or 4, depending on how you look at it, where Ashkenazi Hebrew is different. So some of you who are older might have, or have whatever experience, heard that when a woman comes of age and has her ceremony, it used to, in Ashkenazi tradition, be called a bas mitzvah. Now, generally, most of the time you heard bat mitzvah. Well, that's the case here. In Ashkenazi Hebrew, the letter tav without the dagesh used to have an S sound. That's what I learned when I was in Hebrew school. However, it's not wrong. It's just not typically done. Typically done is the Sephardi dialect. You will hear in certain synagogues and with certain people who learned it that way. Sometimes they'll pronounce it that way for whatever reason they remember or don't. But I want you to become familiar with it, know it. Now, this letter here, for our Hebrew speaking, would be a T. It also, with a dagesh in it, it would be a T. But we haven't learned that yet, so we'll learn that later on. Okay, everybody's still with me? Good, okay. All right. So now I'd like to go to that. So for homework, fill out a whole line. And actually, if you can do more than that, it would be good for you to learn that. We will go back to page 5. And Bruce, if you, I guess you can put page 5 up for those who don't have it in front of them. We will do a little practicing here. Okay. Now back to 5. Okay, so here we have a bunch of letters. Okay, so let's see. Why do we have? Well, you know what? I think if this part, I'll do the reading. The first letter you see there is a B sound, so it's pronounced B. Okay. When we get something a little further on, I'm going to actually have you do some reading. The first one is B. The second one is sh. The third one is t. Then b again. Then t. Then sh. Then t. Then b. Then sh. Then b. And then t. Okay. So let's see. I have Merrill is right underneath me on my computer. Why don't you unmute and read the next paragraph for us out loud in Hebrew, and everybody follow either on the screen or in their books. In English, it says.
In English, the letters of the alphabet represent both consonant sounds B, C, D, F, etc., and vowels A, E, I, O, U. In Hebrew, the letters represent consonant sounds, while vowels are indicated by symbols that are written above, below, or beside the letters. In this chapter, we introduce two vowel symbols that are written below the Hebrew letters. These two symbols indicate the same sound.
Okay, so Bruce, if you can lift the page up so we can see what's below this. A little too far. Back down a little bit, a little more. There we go. Okay, good. Okay, so now we're going to introduce two vowels. Okay, the first vowel that Merrill was reading about is like a little hyphen, a little horizontal line underneath any Hebrew letter. Okay? And the second one underneath that is like a little T. It's a perpendicular, a little horizontal with a little vertical line underneath that. And they both, again, in Sephardi Hebrew, they're both pronounced the same way as ah. Okay? Whether you have the mute on or not, everybody, just to get practice, say a couple of times, ah, 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 ah. Okay? Now, this I'd like you to write down. You could write it in your books over there, or on a separate page where you have, well, a couple of pages where you have vowels. In this book, they don't automatically tell you what the names of the vowels are, but I am going to tell you because that's important to learn. The first one, the little horizontal, that's called a patach. P-A-T-A-C-H. And I suggest you put an accent mark on there, however you want to do that, on the first syllable. Patach. Patach. Okay? That we will talk about accentuation probably in the next lesson or the one after that. That letter is called a patach and it's ah. Okay? The second one underneath it is called a, again, write it here or in a grammar vowels page. It's called a kametz. Kametz. K-A-M-E-T-Z, or E-T-S if you like. K-A-M-E-T-Z. Kametz. And they both have the sound ah. And the sound goes after, in almost all cases, goes after the consonant. So if you have that under a bet, it's going to be pronounced ba, either one of them. If you have it under a shin, it's going to be pronounced sha. And if you have it under a tav, it's going to be pronounced ta. Okay? And so as it says over there, when reading the letters with vowels, sound the consonant on the screen, sound the consonant, then the vowel. So they gave an example. A bet with a kamet, sound the B first, then ah, to pronounce ba. Okay? The next one, sound the shin first, and then the ah, to pronounce sha. Okay? Again, remember this, patach and kamet. So now we're going to move on to page 6, Bruce. Excellent. Okay, good. All right. So now, some reading practice. Okay, so let's see. Bonnie is the next one on my screen, then Batya, and then Adam. So let's start. Okay, Meryl read something ready. Bonnie, why don't you unmute and read me the first 4 letters with their vowels? Okay?
Yep. Ta,
Bonnie.
ta, sha, ba, ba.
Excellent. Okay. Batya, read the next 4.
Ba, ta, sha, ta.
Good. Yes, you started one back, but that's fine. Okay, so there are 5 left. Adam, why don't you read the last 5?
One, two, three, four, five.
After the top.
Ba, ta, sha, sha, sha.
Good. All very simple. It'll get more complicated later. Okay.
May I ask this?
Absolutely.
I tried studying Hebrew on my own, and I was having a hard time differentiating between the vowels. Is there any easy rule that you can tell us now in the beginning, so that I and maybe some others may grasp that?
About learning the vowels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they sound the same.
Yes, these two sound the same. You know, the others we're going to learn are definitely different. Let me. This is a good point to segue into this, just like I did before with the tav, the kametz and the patach in Sephardi dialect, and it probably shows these things to learn first. In the Sephardi dialect, are both pronounced ah. But in the Ashkenazi, the older form pronunciation that people used to learn, there was a difference. The patach was pronounced ah, and again, this is just for interesting historical and cultural information. The kametz was pronounced aw, A-W, instead of and A-H for the patach. So those are two of the variations between that Ashkenazi traditional Hebrew has from Sephardi. Those two sound the same. So most of the others sound different, but not completely. There are some other vowels which also sound the same. We're going to go through learning these piece by piece, and I have a sheet which I put together which talks about those. Maybe I'll send the sheet out before the next class to everybody's email address, and you can print it out. That includes all the vowels and vowel combinations. But at this point, we're learning these piecemeal. I think it'll be a little easier once we go through, and we're doing this fairly comprehensively. Does that help at all?
I'll trust the process.
Okay, good. I'm pretty much guarantee everybody's going to learn it. It may take a little bit more or less effort from everyone. We all have different roadblocks, and to help me learn where, if you have a problem, what it is and where it is, help me do that, and I'll help you work through it. That's what teachers do. Okay, so Adam, you're at the bottom of the screen, so I don't have anybody else besides me here. I'd like to have somebody read the English underneath those. Somebody who hasn't read yet. Michelle?
It's Michelle. I could read.
Okay. There we go.
In both Hebrew, is that what I'm reading? In both Hebrew and English?
Yes.
A syllable can consist of a single consonant and a single vowel, as in the line of Hebrew above. A syllable can also consist of a consonant, vowel, consonant combination, such as in the words bat or tat in English. Read aloud the following consonant, vowel, consonant combinations. Each should be pronounced as a single syllable. Remember to read from right to left.
Right. Okay, and just like it said, so some of those you'll have a one consonant with a vowel, and that'll produce a sound, and sometimes you'll have another consonant afterwards. So Hebrew syllables tend to be 1, 2, or 3 letter combinations. Not 3 very often, but occasionally. Okay, so Michelle, I'd like you to continue. Read on line B the first 4 words.
Uh-oh, okay. Shot, bat, tat, tash.
Right, do the 4th one again.
Tash.
Tash, is that what you said?
That's what I said.
Okay, Tash, good.
Tash.
Sometimes I don't hear it.
Okay, yeah, no.
Okay, whoever's next in line, let's see. Again, I only see 4 of you. Who hasn't had a chance to read yet?
Do you want me to try?
Glory. Okay, good, good. Why don't you continue with the next 3?
Okay. Bosh, Shash, Shah.
Good. Okay. And then someone else who hasn't had a chance yet, read the next 4.
It's Amy. I'll read.
Amy, good.
Okay. Bab, tab, bat, tat.
Excellent. Thank you very much, by the way. You're doing exactly what I needed. You said it loud and you pronounced the last letter clearly because it could often get lost. So that's exactly how I'd like people to do that so we can all hear. Okay, and the last three, who hasn't had a chance yet? Anybody? If not, Batya, go ahead. Give you,
It's Sarah.
oh, Sarah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. Tosh, Shosh,
Yes.
Shab.
Excellent. Okay, go ahead and read the next piece in English for everybody.
Okay. Longer combinations can be read by sounding out the individual syllables. Remember that some syllables will consist of just a consonant and a vowel, while others will be consonant, vowel, consonant combinations. Example, botch.
Try it again. It's two pieces,
No,
two syllables.
batash, I guess, but batash.
That's it, batash. Okay, so everybody, you don't unmute, but just a few times say batash, batash. You get an idea how it looks. A lot of this learning in basic Hebrew is learning where the syllables are, and it's fairly intuitive. Sometimes there are exceptions. One more time, batash. Okay, so read the next three lines, finish that up. The first syllable. Oh, unmute yourself, Sarah.
The first syllable is a consonant and a vowel, ba. The second syllable is a consonant vowel consonant combination, tash. Together, they would be sounded as batash.
Good. Okay, so Bruce, lift it up, and we're going to have a whole bunch of letters now. I think we're going to finish this page, and what I want to do, let's see. Okay, Adam, read the first four. This is line D. I'd like you to read these aloud so you get a chance to read a little something. First four things, Adam. Start with on line D. Unmute.
Sorry. Sha, shot, tot, shatat,
Good. Read the whole line.
ba, bat, bata, batat.
Good. Excellent. Okay. Merrill, read line E.
Ba, Bob, ba, baba, sha, shab, bash, shabash.
Good. Okay. Amy, why don't you read the first four on line F?
Okey doke. Ta, tab, ba, bash.
Excellent. Okay. Lori, pick the next four.
Tabash, ta, tat, tat, tash.
Okay. Good. Batya, line G, the first four. And then
Ba,
you finish up.
okay. Ba, bash, sha, josh,
Say that the fourth one again.
josh,
That's it. Shush. Good. Okay. And so now Bonnie, the last four.
Shab,
Mm-hmm.
Shabbat,
Right.
Bat,
Good.
Shabbat.
Good. And yes, that is what it looks like, Shabbat. Okay. Congratulations, you read the first Hebrew word. The last word you read on the last line is Shabbat, which is it says a day of rest, the Sabbath day in English, and of course is a cornerstone of Judaism. The word is useful because it incorporates all the Hebrew letters and vowels in this chapter, and also it's used everywhere in prayer. So we're going to stop there. And what I want to do is finish the class. I had thought about this. It's election day, and I'm a liturgist, and it's, I don't know what you may have known or looked at in the CBSE prayer book. I've written many prayers that I've read over the years, and one of them is that they printed in the book is the prayer for our country. And when I was a service leader, whenever a secular holiday came up, like Thanksgiving or Labor Day or Election Day, particularly, I liked to read this in front of the congregation. So Bruce is going to put this up so we can all read it. And if you like to, I'd like everybody, you can unmute yourselves, and we'll read this prayer that I wrote back in 1992, which was also an election year. And I think we all are very concerned about our country and the course it's going through right now. So if you would join me, let's end the class tonight with this prayer together. Okay?
God,
who watches over
who
all
watches creation, give wisdom to those who are leaders among us. Inspire with creativity those who legislate. Provide compassion to those who make decisions affecting our lives. Educate them in the ways of justice that are the vision of the Hebrew prophets. May they never be far from mercy and understanding, fairness and equity. We ask for cooperation between people of different races and religions, and understanding between those who are gay and those who are straight. Restore love to our families who are separated for whatever reason. May we have the courage to speak out against bigotry at all times, against hatred that is racial, religious, or sexual. May the young profit from the experience of their elders, and also share with them the idealism of their youth. May we all work together towards a common goal, the improvement of humanity. God, who created our beautiful and beloved country, preserve its beauty. Protect your creation from selfishness, abuse, and destruction. Provide wisdom to all who dwell here, and teach us to be strong. Give us the ability to work with other nations for a better world, and maintain our good lives of harmony and love. With wise leadership that fosters cooperation rather than war. Protect us with Sukkot Shelecha, your shield of peace, and let us say Amen. Amen.
Very beautiful, Ron.
Very prolific.
Thank you. This is before global warming. I've always been very conscious of how important it is that we work towards keeping our world safe and beautiful and protected. And it's important to be reminded of these things often. Some of this, when you think about, what goes on in Congress and the kind of leadership we've seen, I hope for the best. I'm sure we all do. So, any questions before we go?
No.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I've enjoyed this a lot, and I hope you have. Practice any reading of those syllables and whatnot that you can do, just to get a little, work with it until we meet again. We're meeting on Thursday, same time at 6 o'clock, and make sure you finish those lines of writing of the consonants. And what I suggest you do also is put several, use the kametz and the patak under some of those letters, so that you learn to write them as well as the consonants. Okay, everybody?
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Be well, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you.
And
any questions?
Here's praying. Here's praying.
Goodbye.
Hey, Ron.
Fingers crossed.
Ron, I have a question.
Yes.
I need to talk to you. So can I call you tomorrow? Are you around?
Okay, I'm leaving.
Yes, I will be around tomorrow.
Okay.
you can give me a call.
All right, because I have a question.
Okay, good. That's the call afternoon. It's at 12 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good night, everybody.
Hey, good luck.
Thank you. I think this went well. Everybody seems happy. Jesse, everything look good to you?
Wonderful.
Good.
All right.
Have a
Bye.
good one. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Nice to meet you all.
I'm
Nice
here.
to meet all of you that I haven't met before. I was a little anxious before I started, but I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people definitely got something out of it. And
Good.
the,
Thank you for setting everything up and communicating, Jesse. Thank you, Bruce. That worked really great
Thank you.
with these things because two people don't have the book yet, so that was a big help for them. Good.
Well, I'm glad I could help out.
Good. Okay, so thank you very much. I guess I'll sign off now and